To give you some background, I'm generally not easily scared. I like to stretch my mind and see how far I can go. Zombie nightmares, no problem. Scary movies, I watch them all. I did notice, however, that there's one thing that keeps repeating in my dreams. I'm terrified of home invasions. If I ever dream about someone uninvited in my house, I freeze. I can't move, I can't scream, I can't run. So I've been doing some thinking as to why that may be, and I figure out why. As a child, I lived in a fairly well-off town in Israel, right off the edge of it, that was separated from a not-so-well-off city by a large field. When I was about 5 or 6, I would sleep in my room with the door open so that I can see into my parents' room across the hall, since it made me feel safer. There would be this thing, though. I would wake up in the middle of the night for no particular reason and just stare at the doorway. Then after a few seconds, I would see a silhouette of a person passing by, sometimes pausing at the doorway for a brief second before continuing. It scared the shit out of me, and I would force myself to cry so that my parents would come and check on me. They never found anything and attributed it to bad dreams. This probably happened 4 to 5 times. About a year later, my parents woke up one day to find the drawers in my dad's desk completely out and empty. My dad asked my mom whether she messed around with them. Clearly, she didn't. We installed an alarm system. Honestly, with the alarm system, it was worse. One night I woke up again for no apparent reason. And a second later, this piercing sound rang through the house and wouldn't stop. I freak out, jump out of my bed, and look towards my parents' room. Just then, I see a silhouette of a person sprinting across my doorway, down the hallway. By the time my parents got out of their bed, the person was already out of the house, leaving the large door to the house wide open. This happened 3 fucking times. We started getting preemptive. We got one of these motion sensors that played a recorded message when activated. My mom recorded a "Get out of here, you fucking thief" type message and put it next to the main door of the house. One night I wake up, again for no apparent reason, although I think I know why by now. And 2 seconds later, I hear my mom's recorded message cursing at the thief. A few seconds later, I hear footsteps of someone running away. At least it worked. That was the last time that happened. When I was 13, we moved to another country, but would always go back in the summer to visit our extended family, and typically stayed at my grandma's. One of my favorite things to do is stay up late at my grandma's house in Tel Aviv, in the living room, and watch National Geographic after everyone went to sleep. Don't know why. I find it very relaxing. I was about 14, watching National Geographic at 2 a.m., and I get the feeling. That one that made me wake up when I was little. For no apparent reason. Except, I was awake. I concluded that it's probably nothing. But just in case, I put both of my hands up and middle fingered the whole room slowly. I figured if anyone was watching me, they would have gone away after seeing that. So at around 3 a.m., I decided to go up to my bed on the second floor. But on my way there, I noticed my mom's bag is on the table. I consider moving it somewhere further away from the window in case someone wanted to grab it with a broomstick or something. I decided not to, because it's probably not going to happen, and what if she woke up, won't find it, freak out, and call the police? So I'm in bed, reading a book about ghosts. I was pretty spiritual at 14 and really wanted to believe. I say in my mind, okay, if you guys are real, give me a sign. And then the light flickers a little. That could be anything. I'm gonna need a bigger sign. And at that moment, I hear a large from downstairs. I come out of my room at the same time my mom comes out of her room and my grandma comes out of hers. They ask me why I'm making so much noise. I tell them that I'm not, and that I think that there's somebody downstairs. My mom tells me, nonsense. It must just be... My mom freaks the fuck out and starts screaming things like, "Get the fuck out of here, you thief!" And just in general screaming in the direction of the first floor. After a few minutes she goes down, and granted, the window is broken, and the bag is gone from the table. Someone took it. With a broomstick. It all started over a year ago, living in my current small neighborhood. It was unusually hot in our house for October, and my sister figured it'd be a good idea to keep her windows open for a bit of air. She was doing her homework and I was getting ready for bed when suddenly she burst into my room. She frantically says that she heard some noises outside, sounds of leaves crunching under a person's steps. I believed it to be an animal, so I walk into her room and stay there for not more than 5 minutes until I hear leaves crunching. We quickly glance out the window only to hear the sound of something running away in the woods. But that wouldn't be the end of the story. During the winter, I enjoyed exploring the woods towards the back of my house, climbing trees and traveling further back into the fields. I remember the events very clearly. It had just snowed that night, first snowfall of the winter, and I was more than excited to head out there. I did so and climbed my usual tree to look out. I gave a cursory glance around me and at the area when I noticed something strange. Footsteps leading away from my house, and the origin of them came from a seemingly long-off start. I tracked them down up to a point where there was a rusty wire fence covered in snow where they disappeared. October 2017. It started up again. I was laying in my bed, pitch dark, not a light shining through my room when I heard it. My doorknob turning and my door creaking open. My heart stopped. Every single possibility of what it was rushing through my mind. Keep in mind my door is always shut when I go to sleep. Since I was covered by my blanket, I quickly shot my sister a text. "Did you just come into my room?" She replied with a sharp, "No, I'm all the way in Hillard." My heart began pumping fast. I slowly snuck my hand under my pillow and grabbed my baton, sent a text to my dad, and waited. My dad came in mere minutes later with a knife, shot on the lights, and I jumped out of bed. Searched the entire house with nothing, alarms set and all the doors locked. Impossible. There's no way that happened otherwise. My dad and mom were asleep and a cat would have opened it much faster if it jumped at the doorknob. You best believe I didn't sleep a second that night. Fast forward to December, my relatives in town staying for a week in the basement. We turned on the alarm and all head to sleep. I stayed up gaming. In the morning around 2:30 to 3, my uncle slowly opened his eyes, with the feeling of being watched. His eyes adjusted to the bit of the darkness before he saw it. A guy, average height, scrawny, hair flowing in the wind and shivering looking outside their room through the window. My uncle screamed and they grabbed the baby before taking off upstairs. That morning I was informed of what had happened. I looked for footprints and only saw the smallest sign of a footprint. A front toe print made by what I could only assume was a sneaker. My uncle gave me more details without me telling him. I looked for footprints and he said the guy was leaning to the left looking in. The footprint matched his story. The left had a thin line of dirt anyone could have shimmered across. Now that leads to tonight. The night I could swear he or whatever it was had been in our house. I couldn't sleep. Life has been stressful lately and I was up pretty much all night until I tried getting rest. Every night I've had string Christmas lights dimly lit in the room until tonight. I figured the lights must have been interfering with my sleep, so I unplugged them and headed off to sleep. Pillow over my head, I started to drift off until it happened. A quick strum of my guitar and the sound of something falling over with a desperate attempt to stop it from hitting the ground filled the room. The sound ignited my heart rate. Saliva developing at an extreme speed made it hard not to swallow. I could feel the presence of someone in my room. Realizing I left my baton on my desk, I did the next logical thing. Pretend I was asleep. I tried and laid there for what felt like hours when in reality was only a few minutes, until I heard a whimper come from my sister's room. Imagining this may be the day everyone in my family was silently murdered but me, I gathered all the courage I had. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and grabbed my baton. I busted into my sister's room and screamed, "Hey!" only to see that they were unharmed. My sister asked what the hell I was doing, and I just stood there, looking into the pitch black of my room, and I cried. I've never in my life felt the overwhelming emotion of believing my family was going to be taken from me until today. I sit here in my chair writing this in hopes to document my experiences and try to come to some logical conclusion. All I can come up with is that there is some guy stalking my family and perhaps sneaking into our rooms at night. If anything else happens, I'll post it to this thread. I'm gonna try to sleep now.